It's Weather and Egg in focus on this fabulous Friday. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you might be. There's a little bit of cloud cover out there. So if you were looking forward to getting some garden weeding, not that other weeding some of you were thinking about, I heard you roll your eyes. All right. For those of you heading out to the garden this afternoon, if you are south of Fargo in south of I-94, you're going to see some showers that are happening back towards that Nome, Catherine area. You are probably going to see some scattered showers that are taking place also between Bismarck and Jamestown, but south of I-94. If we get there, we should hit a high today of about 75. We're getting close, but it's a 60% chance that we're going to take on some rain showers today, and they'll carry overnight into tomorrow morning when we're really going to ratchet her up. We're going to hit 85 tomorrow. Our temperatures at night are staying in the 60s, probably even to staying at 70 as we get into next week. What great corn growing weather we will have. Chance for showers on Sunday, but doesn't look like it's very much. Monday, we're taking her all the way to 96 degrees. That ought to be quite the change from where we've been. This past week, we've had morning lows down at about 55. Next week will stay warm. There may be some chances of showers throughout the week, but generally speaking, it looks like that garden's going to take off, and so are every crop out in the field. Thanks for being here this afternoon with me, Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And for all those questions you might have, you can reach me on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. And you can be watching on the Lighthouse Commodities live stream. We can have that view at Facebook, YouTube, as well as Acres TV. Busy Friday. Lots of things that we want to be talking about. A few items have come up in headlines, and we're going to get to those towards the back end of the hour together. If you have not made plans to get to the Red Power Roundup down in Huron, South Dakota, you still have a chance. Might want to pack up kids today and take off. And it is their 37th annual event. Again, that's being hosted in Huron. The Red Power Roundup is a celebration of the International Harvester machinery. Another feature this year is Steiger, as well as much from Case IH. We know they are bringing a very large contingency of the Scout, the automobile that people love for pasture and cow checking. Then you've also got the Travelalls and all things made by IH. Grain trucks, pickups, air conditioning units, freezers, and so much more. This event moves around the country every summer, and it's been hosted before in Huron. And when it's so close, you hate to miss the opportunity. Go check that out. And it kind of might reignite that passion in you to start looking at buying some vintage tractors. And if you are thinking about what might be on the auction that you want to buy back from your childhood, Kerr Auction Service is going to be hosting the Historic Farm Days consignment auction. That'll be on Thursday, July 9th, in person in Penfield, Illinois, but also online. And you're going to be able to check that out at kerrauction.com. They are looking for quality consignments right now on those vintage tractors. Some of you may say, well, how old should they be? No, there's an argument there that the best tractors were all made before 1985, so you can think about it in that regard. Meanwhile, there's local events that we'll be wanting to catch up with, and we're going to do that by starting out our conversation today with Sophia from the Red River Valley Fair, and she's in studio to share all things summer fair. And Sophia, what's your first thing you can't wait to talk about regarding the fair?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the food, probably. That's always on
Yeah,
my mind.
I'm going to eat. So, what's
Yeah.
the highlight this year?
I think that the staple fair foods are always my favorite. I love the corn is my favorite. Doused in butter, grilled corn. I also love the corn dogs, cheese curds, anything that's like not as good if you're not eating it at the fair is where I go first.
Okay, you're right, because I would never eat a corn dog in a million years, but
Yeah.
you're at the fair and you see them
And
and
it's a
you just
foot
really can't
long
stop.
and everyone's got them and you want it too. Yeah. That and
Yep, you're right.
lemonade.
So if you're headed to the fair and you pick up something for lunch, what's your next stop on the Red River Valley Fairgrounds? And the fair this year, by the way, is 10 days of summer fun, July 3rd through the 12th. So
Hmm.
where am I heading to next when I get to the fairgrounds?
I mean, I would check out our world class ag education center. That is really something you can't beat. It's has displays about all things ag. Really good way to teach kids where their food's coming from, get them to interact with animals, see chicks hatch, just really see displays from anywhere. Like we learn about wheat, corn, soybeans, all the different livestock animals. So it's really interactive. There's a lot of games for kids. We have volunteers running that whole building that work in the ag center. So that is something I would really encourage people to check out, as well as our barns, and watch the kids show their animals. I mean, that's one of my favorite things.
So when you are talking about the Ag Center, we're talking about a spot that's one, air conditioned, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a
Yep.
great place to cool off. Volunteers are in there. And in fact, you're probably even looking for more folks that if they would care to volunteer to answer questions, if you farm, if you have animals that you are showing and maybe you can spare an hour, would it be safe to say, Sophia, they could maybe contact you over at the fairgrounds and come
Yeah.
on in for a little time?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We're always looking for help, especially in the Ag Center. And the unique thing about our Ag Center is that it's not just open and operating during the fair, it's actually a year round facility. And we run field trips out of there all year long. So we're always looking for volunteers to help, not even just during fair, but also to teach. We have all of West Fargo School District has field trips in our Ag Education Center and schools outside of that too. But all the third graders from West Fargo come to our Ag Education Center, and that program's continuing to grow. We have more and more kids every year, so we're always looking for help.
How many kids come to show their horses, cows, chickens, rabbits, dogs, goats, sheep? Did I get them all? Is that everything
I
that's
think
coming
you
to the
did
fair?
actually. There's a lot. I don't have a number for you, but there are so many kids that are showing their animals, and we have a livestock enrichment program we started through our Fair Foundation that actually allows city kids to raise animals and show them at the fair. And every Saturday in June, they work with their animals. They're taught how to show, and then they sell their animals at the auction and they make all the money from it. And a lot of them use that to save up for college and just do some incredible things and reinvest in their animals for next year so maybe they can get a higher premium. And those kids, they work. They are coming out to the fairgrounds every day, taking care of their animal, feeding it, washing it, and they also are becoming quite the little business people because they go out and they reach out to sponsors and they have like buyers in line so that they know that their animal is going to get bought for X amount of dollars. And so it's a really good experience on that side of things too, which I would have never imagined.
And these are students, they might be there for FFA, for 4-H, the Livestock Enrichment Program. I think one of the most fun opportunities you can ever do when you're at the fair is walk through that barn and then ask that kid who's showing about the work that they had to do because
Yeah.
they are so proud and they really should be. You described it so well about what they need to be doing every day to get ready for the fair.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Yes.
And
And
there's,
go ahead.
oh, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, on top of the livestock, they also, like you're mentioning, hard work of like 4 H and FFA. In our Butler Machinery Arena is where we have all of our static displays. So there's also so much work that the kids put in to have those displays and are also just competitive entries.
Well, also, when I think about what's going on for the fair right now, it's the static displays too. So there's buildings full of artwork and creativity that the kids are doing. And they got all that lined up so they can go to the carnival. Which one's your
Exactly.
favorite ride?
Oh, I love the Ring of Fire, but I also love the Ferris wheel. If I'm in like a really thrill-seeking mood, which I typically am, I would do Ring of Fire. But the Ferris wheel is just so classic. I just love looking at the fairgrounds from the Ferris wheel, and it's just even if you don't like rides, you like the Ferris wheel. So, what's your favorite?
So I come from a long line of pukers. I'm not really good at fair rides. So I'll be on the ground watching you and cheering you on where I can safely consume more popcorn and not lose my lunch.
Yeah, and the fair is it is tricky because you want all the fried food, but then you also want to go on the rides, and it's like those two things. You think they'd go great together, and they don't.
Well, I get it because after the carnival, head on into the grandstand. You got
Yeah.
quite the lineup.
We do, yeah. I'm super pumped. So, obviously, the fair is a week from today. We kick off, and our first thing is a race at our racetrack. So, we've been running the races out there this year, and it used to be the Red River Valley Speedway. It's now the Fix It Forward Speedway. And we have been running that all summer. It's been going great, and we're so excited to bring the fair race back. It's really opens the racing community up to like the general community, which is just attending fair, not really familiar with the races. And so it's
Mhm.
fun. We get a lot of new people experiencing the races. So that's the first thing. And then we have a couple of derbies. So that's Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday night. We have some derbies, which will be super fun. 4th of July, especially a really long fireworks show, but we will have fireworks every night. And new this year, we will have a drone show every night. So
Ooh.
that is new. Hasn't really been done in our area. So I'm super pumped to see that. I've never seen anything like it before. A lot of nods to the 250th anniversary of America, a lot of patriotic artwork up in the sky. You'll see all 10 days of summer. So that's going to be incredible. And then we have a dark night on Monday, but then Tuesday and Wednesday we have some free shows with your gate admissions. So Hairball, a cult classic in Fargo, and then Wednesday is Blackhawk, so some old time country. And then we kick off our bigger concert series on Thursday with Stone Temple Pilots, Candlebox, and Pop Evil for a little rock night. And then on Friday we have Jason Derulo. Saturday we have Trace Adkins, Chase Matthew, and Uncle Cracker. So a good mix of older country, some new country, quite a bit of variety. And then Sunday we have Ann Wilson and Matt Mayer doing our Christian night.
Well, I think all of those hit every genre that people could possibly want to be a part of. And that's a
Yep.
big deal when you want to go to the fair and you want to see different things all the time.
Yeah.
So let's make sure we hit this hard.
Yeah.
Dates, ticket prices, etc.
Yeah. Dates, we are July 3rd through the 12th. So we start next Friday and run through the following Sunday. Tickets are on sale at redrivervalleyfair.com for all of the grandstand performances, mega passes, like those types of things. The ride wristbands and your gate admission, you do have to wait to buy at the gate. Those we do not sell in advance online, but everything else is on our website. If anyone has questions, feel free to give our office a call. If you look up Red River Valley Fair, we are there. We are ready to answer your calls and help you out. And then we also post a lot of information on our Facebook and are pretty diligent about responding to comments and messages there. So Facebook or Instagram is also a great way to reach us.
You guys are pretty spot on. You want to make sure people get there, have a great experience, and that happens every year. I can keep my fingers crossed that the weather is also ideal for everything that needs to happen at the fair. I'll keep
Yes.
an eye on it for you. My favorite day will be July 8th. There will be a event there for North Dakota FFA Foundation. They
Yes.
are hosting a social slash reunion, and if folks are interested in that, Lakin Demorat with North Dakota FFA Foundation said reach out to her, or folks can also contact me, ag@flagfamily.com, and I'll be happy to give them some tidbits and background information.
Awesome. Yes.
Sophia Thompson, thanks for your time today, and I think we can all enthusiastically look forward to the days of the fair of the summer coming up at the Red River Valley Fair.
Yes. Thanks, Bridgette.
Thank you. And we're going to take a check of the livestock market update with the American Ag Network and return with Ag Commissioner Doug Goring. Got a building project in mind? Maybe you've been considering something new on the farm. I mean, there's been some farm shop expansions as equipment got bigger, so there's a place to put it and work on it. Well, if you're thinking of that at all, have a discussion with Enderco Enterprises of Fargo. They have built to last many, many projects over the last 20 years up and down the valley. New steel, commercial, industrial, or ag buildings, well, they're happy to talk with you. They have got a great reputation, lots of experience, and incredibly reliable. Again, that's Anderco Enterprises at andercoenterprises.com or call them 277-7078. Friday today, and I have the opportunity to visit with Ag Commissioner Doug Goring, straight from his office out in Bismarck. And this is that time of the year, Doug, where we talk so much about Project Safe Send. It's a phenomenal program that's kind of unique to North Dakota, correct?
It is. Yes, it very much is.
Give us a little background. Since 1992, we have made a clean sweep of the countryside.
We've collected over 6 million pounds since then, probably closer to 7 million pounds. It's no questions asked. It's a non-regulatory program, and it's just a way for the public to safely and legally dispose of unusable pesticides, whether they're old, they're banned, they're damaged. They can be, and when we say pesticides, that includes herbicides, insecticides, rodenticides, and fungicides. This is available to, and I think that's the other misnomer, it's available to anybody in the public. It can be farmers, ranchers, pesticide dealers, commercial applicators, other government agencies, homeowners, and just general members of the public. But I will tell you, there are a couple things that we need to continue to remind people ever. Please don't bring paint. Don't bring fuels,
that's
like
not
gasoline.
it. That's not the thing.
That's right. No fuel, no diesel, kerosene, or gasoline. We can't dispose of that. Lubricants, the oils, antifreeze, fertilizer, soil conditioners. People that show up with a bag of fertilizer, well, I had this laying around in the garage. No, sorry, we can't do that. We do ask, though, that if you have or you plan on bringing more than 1,000 pounds, please register with us. I would also say if you have damaged containers and you are able to put them in a different container, pack them with an absorbent material like Floor Dry or something. Also, if you don't have some way of containing it, give us a call. We have heavy-duty plastic bags that we'll make available free of charge so that you can at least get them, packaged up and brought to one of the sites. If you want, I can tell you the sites right away, real quickly here.
I think we should, because that's going to be important for people to and know that if you miss a site, if you didn't hear the conversation Commissioner Goring and I are having, you can always go to the website for the Department of Ag to follow up. But let's run through that list of sites, please.
Absolutely. So on July 7th, we'll be in Castleton. Oh, by the way, everything is in the morning, 8 a.m. to noon, every one of these locations. So July 7th will be Castleton. July 8th will be Jamestown. July 9th, Bismarck. July 10th, Dickinson. July 13th, Williston. July 14th, Rugby. July 15th, Devil's Lake. July 16th, Larimore. And there is a limit. You cannot bring more than 5,000 pounds. And somebody might be listening and saying, well, who would bring 5,000 pounds? We've had some pesticide dealers, agronomy centers, that were bringing some rinse aid, things that they were cleaning and rinsing out. And it was overwhelming the system. So you have to register with us, first of all, and you can't bring more than 5,000 pounds. And I should qualify that. If you are a pesticide dealer or an agronomy center, you're actually limited to 3,000 pounds or one shuttle of product. So we try to make this available for the public to give them an opportunity when they're cleaning out the garage. Maybe they're going through an estate, God forbid, but we know it happens. Maybe all of a sudden you decide to make a project out of cleaning up some storage sheds on the farm, come across some stuff, and you're like, man, we don't even know what this is. And it looks like a pesticide. It's identified as a pesticide. Please bring it. We have these locations available.
And when you are taking things to these communities on the specified days, you're going to a North Dakota Department of Transportation site. You'll be checked in. People will ask what you have. You can show them. You don't have to answer the questions of, well, where'd you get those Tordon pellets? Because you might have found them in the farm shop after you're cleaning up after Grandpa. As you mentioned, perhaps in the garage, you've got some bottles that you were using for weed control in the garden, and now you don't throw those in the garbage. You can bring them to Project Safe Send. And I really appreciate that even though we're saying agronomy sites, you have a limit to how much you can bring. That's because this is taxpayer funded, if I'm not mistaken, and we have to have it open to the whole public, correct?
Well, no, it's actually, and I'm glad you brought that up. So it's funded from pesticide registrations that we receive through our department. We register over 13,000 different products in the state of North Dakota. From those registration fees, we've used some of this to actually make this program available. In other states, they don't necessarily have this program, and there might be a few agronomy centers that would say, well, if you have something left over, you can bring it back to us, but that's only if you're a customer of theirs. So this program is unique to our state, and we try to do what we can to assist, the general public and everyone out there, instead of having this stuff laying around and some natural disaster, catastrophe happens, and all of a sudden you have products strewn everywhere or, subject to the elements. We just want to avoid that.
Well, this is a perfect opportunity for us to take a quick news break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion with Ag Commissioner Doug Goring. And I like the fact that we explained exactly how these things get funded, because the public always wants to know, and they're all included in this program and Project Safe Send. So we'll be right back with more discussion. Ag Director Bridgette Readel here today, and thanks for joining me as well as my guest, Ag Commissioner Doug Goring here for the state of North Dakota. All along through the year of 2026, every Friday, we've been having a discussion, or it's not every Friday, once a month on a Friday, we've been having a discussion with Ag Commissioner Goring to talk about history of ag in North Dakota, the things that we've been doing to help celebrate America's 250. And today, let's switch it to livestock. We've had such a great conversation about the cropping system, and that's the first thing that people think about in North Dakota is what we do in the realm of raising corn, soybeans, wheat, barley, flax, etc. But we're not exactly shy in the livestock industry, and beef has had a pretty good run in this state, wouldn't you say?
It has. I mean, 1.7, 1.8 million head of beef cattle in the state, but could be more, could be better.
Northwestern North Dakota really opened up a lot of those grazing lands as many people are getting ready to celebrate the opening of the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library out at Medora. That brings to mind pictures of the Old West, but also that was an open grazing, open range grazing time of the country's history. And North Dakota was pretty prominent in it. And I think that really we only associate cattle with Western North Dakota. You mentioned, Commissioner Going, that we could do better. Do you see the chance for more hog, more dairy? I think we can support that as a state. And wouldn't it be fun to see those things expanding across the countryside?
Well, and it would. You know, it's something that has been lost to your point that you made about we don't have the same type of livestock industry that we used to. It kind of went by the wayside over the last 40 years as we've seen small farms consolidate, shrink up. We've seen a situation where animal agriculture left the plains. And in North Dakota, compared to all of our neighbors, we hardly have any animal agriculture left. And when you think about where we were as a statehood back in the 1880s, when livestock were really introduced into the countryside, it helped shape and provide stability on those farms because you're right. When you think of farms and you think of North Dakota, you think of a lot of fields of grain and row crops, and that was great. But in those early days, when you added livestock to that component and back into that operation, you had meat, you had milk, you had butter. When you think about there, almost every farm had hogs and chickens, so you had eggs and bacon. They needed protein, and that's where you get it from. And when you look at what more we could do in the state, it really means adding that diversity back into the operation. You can utilize the manure as plant food, and you also get to graze the entire landscape. And I say that with respect to there's so much that's unused out there after you take a crop off. You can graze after cropping. You have land that's not suitable for cultivation that can be utilized for livestock. And to your point, livestock prices are pretty good. So it gives you another revenue stream for the farm, which the last 3 years have not been very good for our crop producers. So it's just another added advantage. It adds stability, resilience, and really diversifies your total operation. And then you're not just doing one or two crops. You're probably got alfalfa in the mix, millet, sorghum, maybe oats and barley, all those different crops that you're putting back into that rotation scenario, and cover crops, more and more cover crops in the last 20 years, which actually that whole concept was born here in North Dakota some 30, 35 years ago. Now you're seeing that integrated more into our livestock operations, our farming operations, and it's so great that it's just a fantastic story to tell, and we're part of the cornerstone of meat protein for the world. The rest of the world desires it. They look for a concentrated protein product, and that generally comes from meat. So anything more we can do here, it benefits our neighbors, our community, our country, but it also really benefits into that export market.
I appreciate what you said about innovation, and North Dakota's played a role in a long history of that. Going back to when Teddy Roosevelt and the Marquis de Moras were in the Medora area, the Marquis had a great idea. He wanted to process beef at the source and then ship it refrigerated to the east. He was probably just ahead of his time. I mean, do you think he might have worked if he had waited 40 years?
I bet it would have. You are right. It was what a novel idea. I mean, everybody's like, what? Why would you do that? How are you going to keep the meat? The reality is what a visionary, because when he created that meat packing processing facility there in Medora, all he needed to do was make sure that he had refrigerated cars packed with ice, and they could then ship that to Chicago. They could ship it further east, and the consumer would get prime cuts coming out of the prairie. Where the other side of this coin was, you had to walk those cattle, burn off all of that fat and that good marbling, just to get them onto a rail car to get them to the stockyards in Chicago or someplace else. By the time you got it, that meat was so tough, and I mean, they still enjoyed it, but they could have had a prime product, and he was certainly, the Marquis was ahead of his time, and it's unfortunate it didn't work. There was a little bit of a conspiracy here, but it's true. It's a fact. They worked against him. The barons and the others just worked against him and said, no, make sure that you don't put ice in those cars halfway there. Well, the meat spoiled, and he ended up losing his business venture.
Well, one guy who didn't lose his business venture, that would be Anton Hebling in Mandan. L&H Branding Irons in Mandan is the oldest and largest manufacturer of branding irons in the industry. Started with the first electric one in 1954. I don't know if you know the family over there at L&H. I would love to have them on air sometime. So if you want to drop a message to them, Commissioner Goring, that'd be okay with me. But that really revolutionized what was happening in the beef market. Was we suddenly we were open grazing, we were moving to more of a fenced closure system, and people wanted to keep an eye on their herd. And branding irons, moving to the electric ones, really became quite the movement in the 1950s.
Well, and you're right. So, and if you back up just a little bit, when we were in the early 1900s, because of cattle rustling and because of problems, they had figured out let's adopt widely this whole concept of branding. So it's great when you think about the Helbing family and Anton, because electricity just hit the prairies. I mean, in the early 1950s, we just got electricity on the farm. And however he did it, and however he thought about the concept, he thought, instead of having a flame going out there and a fire and you're trying to do branding, why don't we see if we can utilize electricity? And he did. He was the guy that revolutionized the electric branding industry and developed the first electric branding iron, which is now used, across the Western Hemisphere and even across the world now. So, good on them. The Helblings are good people, and it's probably a great story to tell if you can ever get him on.
I would love to. That kind of thing just really stands out to me as far as a chunk of history in North Dakota, how we've shaped the industry. Maybe I shouldn't call this Weather and Ag in Focus. Maybe I should call this the Agricultural History Hour. But nonetheless, it brings great things to mind and to the public forefront. We know that right now we are seeing more investments in meat lockers, local butcher shops, regional processing centers, and I think the Department of Ag has played a part in advocating for that. Is there a program that just pops into your mind? This is completely off our outline today, but is there a program that you would highlight for people that are interested in doing some of those entrepreneurial uh, industries in the livestock arena that the Department of Ag wants to really support and make sure people are aware of?
Well, we do have some programs like APOC where you can look at some startups, you can look at some research, you can look at feasibility studies. Those are some things that we can do to help and assist in that area. The AD program, which was developed by the legislature, great program. It's very specific, though, and this is where people,
Okay.
sometimes get confused. The Ag Diversification and Development Program, we call it the AD program, is
Okay.
specifically targeted at animal agriculture operations of a significant size. They are also looking at value-added agriculture facilities, so food facilities, pet food facilities, feed facilities. They are very much eligible to come and submit an application. It goes through a competitive process, and then there's some determinations that can be made as to whether projects would get funded. These projects are eligible up to $500,000. They don't always get that. The commission is very good about, really critiquing the project itself and determining if it should get funded at all, and if it does, at what amount. But that one there is more specifically designed to look right at animal agriculture. Along with that AD program, we have AD buy-down, interest buy-down money available also through the Bank of North Dakota. So there's also the opportunity that one can work with the Bank of North Dakota on a loan for their operation and potentially get some interest buy-down too. So there's some different ways in which you're doing that. The legislature has also developed the Ag Infrastructure Program. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell people now we're almost out of money.
Okay.
First biennium that it was out there, no one could believe it was available. The second biennium, before halfway point, we're out of money already, and that's really to help upgrade roads, bridges within a community. We know that counties and townships, those political subs, are challenged at times. It also would make some limited funds available for wastewater, water supply, electrical, gas. There's some cost share dollars that are available also for that, and that can help with some of the animal ag operations out there. And it's really designed for new, but it will consider any substantial expansion that exists in an operation also. So those are a couple of programs, and there's some other things we can possibly find for people out there too.
Commissioner Goring, you've been really generous with your time in this hour, and I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. It's wonderful to have these casual conversations. We don't have to be politically focused, but we can talk history and the positives of what's happening with the Department of Ag. So thanks for the time today.
Thank you so much, Bridgette. Take care. Have a great day and a great weekend.
You as well. So, folks, when we come back, I will give you my not a meteorologist forecast for the weekend, and we'll tap into a couple of ag headlines as well. It is time for your garden weeding weekend forecast. I can only hope that everybody gets a chance to get out there and knock out that dreaded purslane. Somebody once told me it's great in a salad. You know what? It's also great when I rip it out of the ground because I feel better about it because it's trying to choke out everything else I got growing. So, for those of you who are headed out to the garden today, well, it's still a little overcast out there. We're shooting for a high of 75. Might be a good day to get some of that weeding done. Tomorrow, rolling right up to 85 after just barely dipping below 65 degrees for an overnight temperature. Now, the potential for strong or severe weather Saturday into Monday could happen. Watch out there in case there could be hail, some heavy wind gusts, or heavy rain that could fall in isolated areas. So be keeping an eye out for the weather for the weekend. As we warm up, we know that the atmosphere can be a little bit unstable, and some of those showers can be rolling right through here and intensifying. It's going to be 96 on Monday. If you'd like to find me, I'll be under a bag of ice and in front of a fan. I'm built more for feed, not hot weather. So it's just not my thing, but I know that the corn is gonna love it. And if you're trying to make hay, whether you're cutting ditches or baling alfalfa, it's gonna be good weather for you to get past those showers and head into some hot, dry weather to get those bales made. So what's happening in headlines around the region for agriculture? The state of Colorado has declared a statewide drought emergency. Their governor activated phase 3 of the state's drought response plan. 93% of the state of Colorado is currently in drought conditions. Ranchers are hauling water and reducing herd sizes because their canal systems are running dry. This declaration releases additional state and federal funding to producers, but the problem really is that the snowpack in the mountains was at a record low, and there's no quick fix for that. The Mountain West water math is getting tougher every year, and ranchers who depend on irrigation also are having to do the same calculations that any other farmer is doing. How long can you run operations in areas that things are getting just so much worse? Now, let's look at just a couple of other items that are out there for folks. One would be coffee in Brazil. Coffee traders are betting that Brazil's record harvest will ease a global supply crunch. We've all noticed the price of coffee going up. I don't even drink coffee. I just buy it for my house, and it's expensive. It's gone up at least 50% over the last 2 years. So farmers in the world's top growers are in no hurry to sell their beans. They're really squeezing supplies in those heavily consuming countries. Brazil is expected to harvest 75 million bags of coffee in their current season, while inventories in the US and the European exchange warehouses are at their lowest levels since March of 2024. Growers typically pre-sell part of their future production to cover input costs and then hedge so they can shield from the negative price swings. But they don't need to sell much supply up front this year. They've already profited significantly from recent market rallies. Arabica futures have steadily climbed since mid-2023. They've peaked twice at all-time highs over $4 a pound in the last year. Prices have now plunged about 40% from those levels, but yet there's still a little incentive to continue to sell. And for families that might be looking at celebrating their 4th of July with a cookout, prices are going up. I know we'll talk about this heavily over the next few days as we approach the 4th of July weekend, but your Independence Day cookout could cost you about $75 for 10 guests this year. That's according to the American Farm Bureau's most recent annual market basket survey. It's up about $3 from last year, about a 4% increase. The overall inflation rate in the U.S. is 4.2% for 12 months, and that ended in May, consistent with the findings of most recent surveys. This is the most expensive 4th of July cookout since Farm Bureau began the surveys in 2016. This would cost you $7.40 per person. But if you adjust for inflation, cookout costs have remained relatively stable in the last few years and remain below previous peaks back in 2022. Thanks for joining me. Glad to have you here. And I'll catch you again next week, but stay tuned now to check out what Jay Thomas has got going on.